Well, hello and welcome to our Tuesday episode here on the Unfuck Your Biz podcast. If you're a regular listener, you know how this works. If you're new, very quick summary. Every Tuesday, I typically take one question from a new member of my Facebook group, Braden's Besties, and I answer it here on the podcast. We get legal questions, we get money questions, we get tax questions. But when I have a guest on my podcast, I like to strong arm them into answering one question. It's usually a lovely surprise. They're not prepared for it. So on today's episode, I have Meg Wheeler, who is a biz money coach. She's also a CPA, so fellow tax nerd like myself. And Meg, are you ready to tackle this question?
I am ready. Bring it.
Okay, so this question comes from Kasha, and Kasha asks, what are the benefits / pitfalls of hiring a tax strategist versus a CPA?
That's interesting. What is a tax strategist?
I don't know. So that's something
that term's new to me. That term's new to me. So that would be my first question: is what the heck is a tax strategist? What are they telling you that they'll do? And my second question or my second thought would be, look, if you're doing anything related to tax, you want someone who knows their stuff. So you're talking about a CPA, which is a certified public accountant, or, for example, a lawyer like Braden, a tax lawyer, someone whose specialty is in tax. That's what I would be looking for. Anyone who's neither of those things, I would be really curious what strategy they're providing you in the field of tax.
Right.
And what their qualifications are to do that. Now, I will say my sort of caveat to that is you don't need to be a CPA or a tax lawyer to prepare tax returns. So there are other types like enrolled agents, for example, who can prepare tax returns. And the biggest difference there, of course, is whether or not they can represent you in front of the IRS if there is a challenge. So, if it's just for tax prep, then perhaps they don't need to be a CPA, but what the heck is a tax strategist?
I feel like a tax strategist could be anything, but I do I usually reframe a lot of these questions and instead kind of focus on like if and when you should hire a CPA.
Yeah.
And then I kind of think about, well, what's the difference between an enrolled agent, a CPA, someone like I guess I would call myself a tax strategist because I'm a tax attorney. No one really knows what that means. But what I always call myself is small business attorney and tax professional.
Which makes sense, right? But to me, if you're going around saying tax strategist, I want to know what's behind that. Are you a CPA? Are you an attorney?
Yeah.
And I think to answer your question about when should you hire a CPA, and we can have the whole like, do you get a lawyer or a CPA thrown out if you want? But I'll stay out of your LLCs if you stay out of my S corps.
Oh yeah, Jamie and I were talking about that the other day.
I know, right? And I have the advantage of being married to an attorney, so I like to think that I know everything, but I don't. But I would say you should hire a CPA, assuming we're not just talking about tax prep, we're talking about more behind that. If anytime you really want to understand how you can kind of maximize your business setup or operations, so for example, as you start to make more money, should you become an S corporation? If you're doing anything different, if you're expanding into more states, if you are changing up your product lines, if you are selling internationally, my background's in international tax, that's a big one. I always think it's a good idea to consult with a CPA. And even if you're just starting out, I know that can seem scary, but I think it's a good idea to sit down with someone who understands the tax stuff and can give you a little bit of guidance. Someone like myself, like Braden, who can help guide you, because a lot of times a 1-hour conversation can give you what you need for the next 6 months or a year. It doesn't have to be this big project. So that's
my final tip for that before we wrap it up is I will just say from an outsider's perspective, not all CPAs actually have an expertise in tax. That's a specialty within the CPA field. So don't just assume CPA means tax expert. You're looking for a CPA that has tax expertise.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up for today's episode. Like I said, we keep it nice and short, but on Thursday, just in a couple of days, I'm going to have Meg back, and we're going to be talking about what will probably be a much juicier topic's the word I'm looking for, and it will be all about equitable financial practices. So What are equitable financial practices? Going to be totally honest, I don't even know just yet, but Meg is going to tell us on Thursday. So make sure you tune in then, and I will be back in your podcast app. Have a good one.